All right, so you guys know Cooper Kupp suffers a severe ankle injury last season, right around the midway point of the season. The Rams are done at this point. Matthew Stafford's hurt, and everything goes to hell in a handbasket. Well, as you guys know, I did start the season projection video as far as stats-wise series, and I have not done Cooper Kupp yet. So we're going to be doing Cooper Kupp today. Before we get into it, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment if you enjoy this video. Now, Cooper Kupp, I think it's very important to point out that Cooper Kupp was on pace to have a very good season last year. And it seems to me that this injury, even though his 2021 season, when you combine the postseason, is without a doubt the greatest receiver season of all time, people seem to kind of leave him out of the Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, Jamar Chase, Stephon Diggs, so forth conversation. And I just can't understand as to why. I understand, out of sight, out of mind. I understand the injuries are, a little bit of a concern. But Kupp's healthy now. So if you're going into this season and you don't think Cooper Kupp is going to do anything, I don't know what to tell you. He's not going to go back to being a 900-yard receiver. Guys, he had almost 900 yards at the halfway point. So when you take into account that even though he had the lowest yards per reception last year since 2019, Kupp was still on pace for 142 receptions, 1,534 yards, and 11 touchdowns. Okay? He gets hurt. He misses half the season. But that's what he was on pace for. That would have been among the league leaders in those categories. So, let's be honest here. Cooper Kupp suffers an ankle injury. No, it was not a torn ACL like Mike Lombardi said on the McAfee show. And, I just wanted to make a video because I feel as though we've gotten to the point where Cooper Kupp is being a little underrated here, being a little forgotten about. You're doing your tier lists and maybe you're leaving him out of the top 5. And I just don't understand as to why, just because he plays in the slot. We had Chris Harris Jr. on the Off the Edge show, and, basically good players play in the slot. They play on the outside. They also play in the slot. You put guys where they'll succeed. And so really what it comes down to is, aside from Rams fans and, some fantasy football fans that might want to draft him high, I feel like people seem to be out on the idea that Cooper Kupp is going to come back and be a top wide receiver this year. And, again, greatest season in 2021, 2,400 yards, 22 touchdowns, all that. Last year, not the best season he's ever had because his 2021 season was remarkable. But Kupp is far and beyond the number one option in this offense. Matthew Stafford, this year he's back. He's probably as healthy as he's been with the Rams as of right now. The problem with last year is that everyone was under the assumption, including myself, that Allen Robinson was not only going to come in and have an impact, but he was also going to take a lot of the load off Cooper Kupp. What I mean by that is in those double team situations, now all of a sudden you're throwing Allen Robinson. He's generating targets. He's generating production. And now, as a defense, you can't just double team Cooper Kupp anymore because you have to worry about Allen Robinson. That didn't happen. And that is not a knock against Allen Robinson. Because whether you realize this or not, Robinson had the most yards of separation per snap of any Rams receiver. So he was getting open. We've talked about before. Matthew Stafford not being on the same page with Allen Robinson from the get-go because they didn't even work together in the offseason, really. Stafford was injured, and so pretty much John Wolford was working with Allen Robinson. So when you put that into the equation, and then the fact that, the real issue is that the offensive line wasn't healthy. They're healthy now. Stafford's healthy. But furthermore, Van Jefferson is now healthy. And Van Jefferson missed a lot of the beginning of the year. And so I think not having that ability in Van to stretch the field, that speed to test deep. And you tried out Tutu Atwell a little bit in the first game, and you got a little spooked because he didn't look ready. Well, that's what happens. You don't get a lot of snaps. You're not ready. Well, now you have a Tutu Atwell and Ben Skoranek who are ready to step up this season and contribute more on offense. And, I think with the pieces they have complementing Kupp, especially Atwell and Van, field stretching there with that speed, I think Kupp can get back to where he was and maybe then some. So this is what I'm going to say. We're going to start out 193 targets, okay? I think that Cooper Kupp is going to have a lot of targets this season. He had 98 last year for 75 receptions and 812 yards. Look, last year was a little different. Okay, Matthew Stafford had to get the ball out quickly. There wasn't a lot of offensive line help. And so because he had to get rid of the ball quickly, he wasn't able to throw deep down the field. Very, very similar to Jared Goff in 2019. Not a lot of protection, but also Jared Goff didn't want to push the ball down the field as much, wasn't as comfortable as he is now. And so, they kind of went more of those quick passing, the quick passing game. And, that's why we saw so many receptions. But I do think the targets there, he was on pace for 185 targets last year. I think I'm going to give him a little bit more this year, 193. So I have 152 receptions for Cooper Kupp out of those 193 targets, which pretty much puts him around the same catch percentage he would normally have. He had a 76.5 catch percentage last year, which isn't, it's incredible. It's very, very good, but it's not shocking when you look at the type of player he is, the guy that puts himself in a position to succeed, the guy that puts himself in position after the catch, but also he's got a pair of hands. It's hard for him to drop passes. So I have him at 152 receptions. And then with the yards, I did say he had the shot. He was on pace for 1,500 plus. I'm going to say he goes over 1,700 this year. We're not talking 1,900. We're not talking about breaking the record. But in 17 games, I think 1,700 makes a lot of sense. There's going to be a need for the Rams. If they want to make the playoffs, they have to keep Stafford healthy. They have to have the offensive line healthy, but they have to have Cooper Kupp doing his thing when he is on the field. He is the equalizer. He is the thing where if you're down 1 touchdown, you have Cooper Kupp. You're still in it. You're down 2 touchdowns. You have Cooper Kupp. You're still in it. The defense not playing that well that day, Cooper Kupp can put the team on his back as long as Stafford gets him the ball. So that's a big thing here. So I have 1,700 yards, basically averaging over 100 yards per game, which I don't think is out of the question. This is somebody, when you look at last year, he was pretty much around that mark anyway, because in the 9 games that he played, he had 812 yards. So a little bit below 100 a game. But when you think about it, it's not out of the realm of possibility of that happening. And so I very much am looking towards the, 1,702 mark for receiving yards. So here we have 14 receiving touchdowns. Okay. He was on pace for 11. He had 6 before he got hurt. I think 14 is fair. I'm not going crazy here, but I do think that 14 is kind of around where he's going to be. Could he have more if they make the postseason? Absolutely. Could he have more in general? Absolutely. But I think 14 is a good pace because it shows that, one, you have to take into account when you're looking at these stat projections, and this team isn't expected to be great according to a lot of people. Well, if that's the case, then they're going to have to figure out ways to score. And Kupp's ability in the red zone is when he really separates himself. He can find his way open. He can catch the end zone fade, make body control adjustments. We saw that in the Super Bowl when he was on, he's being guarded by Eli Apple. So we already know what he can do. I'm going to give him 14 receiving touchdowns, and that is what I have there. So in conclusion, we have Cooper Kupp going for 193 targets being thrown his way, 152 receptions, 1,702 receiving yards, and 14 receiving touchdowns, which puts him among the league leaders this season. I still think he's one of the best, if not the best receiver. I do believe he is the best receiver because he can work inside, he can work outside, he can help you in the blocking area of his game, he can help you as a runner with the football in his hands, he can help you before he gets the ball. He already has set himself up to make plays after the catch. There's not a lot of receivers that can do most of those things. There's no receivers that can do everything the way Kupp does them, and that is my point. When you look, there are guys that block very well. They're not guys that block very well and are very good receivers, natural hands catchers, guys that can make plays after the catch, incredibly smart on the field, like an extension of the coaching staff. We saw that interview, went viral. We already know. So, look, at the end of the day, Cooper Kupp is going to be Cooper Kupp. He is not a one-trick pony. That last season needs to stop being called a one-hit wonder. It was not. He was on pace to have a monster year last year, despite the fact the offense really wasn't great at all. It was horrible. Let's be honest here. It's very, very predictable. But you can hold it against him that he was getting all the targets. You can hold it against him that he was the only one to throw to, and so maybe he's getting more production, but it's what he did with that production. And unfortunately, a bad pass by John Wolford near the sideline put him in a weird position where he ended up injuring his ankle, and a lost season, they decided they were going to sit him out the rest of the year. Now, could he have played if it was a big game or something? I think he could have, but I don't know for sure is what I'm saying. So anyway, that's how I have it. I think Kupp is in for a great season. For you fantasy football fans out there that are watching this, if you're not drafting Kupp in the first round and he falls into the second, you just got yourself a gem. If he is there in the first, I would consider picking him top 5. Top 3 even. Okay, he is going to have a monster season, and he's going to be a big part of this Los Angeles Rams offense that I believe is revitalized because they're going to have Van out of the gate. They're going to have Demarcus Robinson, a guy who can stay healthy. He's constantly out there. He can play different roles on the on this roster. He can make plays after the catch. He can go up and high point the football with that body. And then in addition to that, he's somebody that's reliable on those third downs. So he's going to help. Van Jefferson's going to help. Tutu Atwell's going to help. Ben Skoranek, coming out of the backfield as a fullback, that can open up things. Tyler Higbee. So it may not be the sexiest wide receiver room. It's not OBJ, Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, Van Jefferson. It's not like having, all sorts of guys like that, Demaryius Thomas, Emmanuel Sanders, Wes Welker, and, Eric Decker. But this is a decent crop of weapons that are going to sneak up on you if you're not paying attention. So I have that for Cooper Kupp. I think he's in for a good year. I'm curious what you guys think. Do you think he bounces back? I don't really even believe in that term because I don't think it applies in this case. He got hurt, but he was killing it. So I don't know what you would be bouncing back from, but I guess the injury in a nutshell. Where do you have him? Let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you haven't already, and hit subscribe for more content like this. I will see you guys soon. You guys take care. And take it easy. Later, folks.